DNF or not DNF? That is the question. Hi everyone, I'm June and welcome to my channel. I decided to start this series of videos where I'm not going to talk about a specific book, but more than that, I want to talk about a specific topic. And as you might see by the title of the video, I want to talk about DNF. But before that, I want to say that probably these videos will be a bit longer than usual because I want to talk and be clear when I express my thoughts. And for the same reason, I have to say that it's my personal opinion. You can agree with it or you can't. You are not obliged to accept it, and you don't need to feel that I'm pressuring you to change your mind. At the end, you decide. I hope these videos will give us a chance to talk and share ideas, and that's it. After saying that, let's start. For those who don't know, DNF means did not finish. It literally means all the books you haven't finished. There are different reasons why you feel you want to DNF a book. Maybe because you didn't like the way it was written, it was hard, it was complex, it was boring, you didn't feel connected with the characters, etc. 80% of the times you DNF a book to never come back, while 20% of the times you are thinking and giving a second chance in the future, in the very far future. Personally, I never DNF a book, although technically speaking, that's not true. I have DNF some books, but as far as I remember, all of them are in the 20%, so I will eventually read them in the future, all of them but one. I have some books that I have DNF, but not because I didn't like them. It was because I started reading other books that caught my attention and were more interesting, and I just didn't continue reading the previous ones. For example, The God Themselves by Isaac Asimov, Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson, The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle, among others that I don't remember by now. But all of the books I have mentioned, I plan to read them in the following days or weeks. I understand the premise that says that why you have to continue reading a book you don't like when there are literally millions of books where you can choose from. And I totally agree. Why wasting your time in reading a book you clearly don't enjoy, especially if it is a big book, when you can be discovering and reading new books, better books, books that will change your life. But here I have an apprehension. We understand that reading is a hobby. No one obliges you to read, well, unless you are in the school and your teacher tells you to read a certain book. But in general, we are not obliged to do it, so I understand the premise of reading what you like. But this is not always true, and I explain you why. The only book that I remember that I have DNF and I don't feel reading it again is It by Stephen King, and I will tell you the story so you understand. When I was a child, there was this movie called It on TV. We call it The Killer Clown because we didn't remember the name. I didn't watch the first part, and I'm not sure, but I think I watched part of the second. I don't have phobia to clowns, but I remember that that movie produced certain fears. And from then on, I don't see clowns the same way. Clearly, they are creepy ones. Let's agree on that. Some couple of years ago, when I was already an adult and we didn't have anything to do at work, I decided to watch the movie in my free time. And I found it creepy, but more than that weird. I watched it and that's it. Not a big deal. It was a relief that I could finish the whole movie that I couldn't finish when I was a child. Just for curiosity more than anything else. Some years ago, I tried to read the book, and as I said, I don't feel scared of clowns. Well, if I suddenly find a clown in my house, I will die of fright. But I decided to read the book, not because of the author, not because of the plot, just because of how big the book is. Yes, I love big books. I was reading the book until I reached a certain part. I don't know if I'm going to give a spoiler. I don't think so I will tell it anyway. I reached a part or scene about bullying. And I immediately thought, oh, I'm not going to like this part. For some reason, this idea of one person feeling happiness by making someone suffers is something I just can't bear. I feel powerless, and I hate when someone abuses of his or her power, especially to treat someone else badly. I hate bullies, to be honest. So when I was reading that part, I felt that anxiety, powerless, like I want to help, but I can't. I knew I was not going to like what I was going to read. So I stopped reading, and I haven't picked the book since then. It can sound an exaggeration, but I have seen that this happens to other people who have DNF a book for a specific scene or even a simple word. But what bothers me, it is the feeling of unfulfillment. And that is why I want to make this difference. Reading is a hobby. No one obliges you to do it. But what if someone obliges you to do it? What if yourself obliges you to do it? Certainly, we read for pleasure, but sometimes we read because we're obliged to do it. Now, we have to agree that you choose if you read for pleasure or is it because you just want to read for a goal? And let me explain you this. Imagine if I read 10 pages of a book and I feel I don't like it and I DNF it. It is okay, right? But what if I do this with every book? Do I need 30 books? I read the beginning and then I DNF it. You will say, well, it is okay until you find the book you enjoy. Well, for sure, yes. If you read for pleasure, then it doesn't matter if you DNF 30 books until you find the book you love. But isn't it a bit pointless? I mean, I know it is just an example, but 30 DNF books multiplied by 10 pages is 300 pages. It's like the length of a book. Wouldn't it be better to have read the first book, push yourself even if you didn't like it, read it until the end, and be able to say, well, I finished a book, but I didn't like it? Isn't it better to say I read a book, but I didn't like it, than saying I haven't finished any book, but I have read a bit of 30? I'm pretty sure that by this moment you must be saying, but June, the whole purpose of reading is for pleasure, to have fun. Yes, and I agree, but the things we like are not always good for us. Sometimes we have to bear hard moments to fulfill a higher goal. It happened when I read the Wheel of Time series. They are 14 books, I think, and we are talking about big books. By the middle of the series, I was starting to feel a bit bored. The story became repetitive, and I was wondering why. If you have the power to destroy the devil, why you have to wait 7 books more to do it? But in my case, the purpose of reading The Wheel of Time was not for pleasure. By the way, I love fantasy books. I liked the Wheel of Time series. I enjoyed it, although I didn't feel it was that amazing. What I was saying? Yes, the purpose of reading The Wheel of Time was not for pleasure. I was reading it just to accomplish a goal. In this case, reading a long series of big books. What I'm trying to say is that if you read for pleasure, don't feel guilty for DNFing a book. DNFing, is that a word? Don't feel guilty if you have to DNF a book. It's just a book. But if your purpose is deeper than that, if reading means great challenges to fulfill, then don't DNF. Because the reward at the end is bigger than just the pleasure of reading. Well, this is my opinion, don't take it personal. That is why it is so hard to read classics and big books. Some people are scared to that huge commitment. They fear that they won't like it, or it is too long and it doesn't feel worthy. You could read 5 books of 200 pages instead of a big book of 1000 pages. Again, if your goal is just to have fun, don't be scared to DNF. But if your goal is really reading a big book, then commit yourself to do it and don't DNF. As an example, I have a couple of books that I know they won't be fun, and they will probably be boring, like It by Stephen King, Rayuela by Julio Cortázar, 2666 by Roberto Bolaños, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, 11/22/63 by Stephen King, among others. I want to read them not because I will laugh or be entertained with them, but I want to read them because they are big, because some are classics, because they were written by famous or important authors, and because it is a huge challenge. And because I want to show off too, so I look clever. The experience has told me that I can have a great time reading books that seem to be long and boring, the same way I did reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, or War and Peace, again, by Leo Tolstoy. So, to summarize, you can DNF, you can do it, I won't judge you, no one will judge you, because I understand you. But if you want my advice, don't do it. Continue reading until you finish. The payment is worth, not because of the feeling of enjoyment, but the feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of overcoming barriers, the feeling of dealing with things we don't like, the feeling of reaching a goal. Well, my friends, I know you have your own opinion and probably will be different from mine. It's okay. You can leave your comments and share your experience. As always, I hope you are safe and happy, and see you soon. Bye.